Welcome gamers to Ultravision's 11th game review. Today we're going to look at Quake for the N64, a port of the legendary PC game by id Software. So does this version capture the fun of the original, or is this version one to miss? Let's find out. The story of Quake 64 has physically no presence unless you read the story in the manual. Considering I bought my copy used, I had to look online. The story goes is that you're a nameless space marine going through the slip gates to fight enemies, protect an alien nation, and eventually fight Shrub Niggurath. The plot is somewhat disorganized and unimportant. There is no cutscenes that I know of that progress or expand the story on this version. Quake 64 plays like the old first-person shooter style of play, where the goal is to get to the end of every level by collecting keys, killing enemies, and avoiding hazards, and some minor puzzles here and there. Like Doom that preceded, you'll be shooting and strafing to seemingly limitless enemies. Like the old first-person shooter game, you need to just aim your gun at any enemy and shoot regardless of where you're looking. There are about 26 levels to play on, with many secrets and hidden items that add replay value. The action is where the core gameplay comes from. Sometimes you'll come into a room that's crawling with aliens and you'll have to fight them, which really sparks the intensity of the game. Another factor is survival. You'll need all your weapons and ammo to get your hands on, meaning you'll have to search high and low for powerful weapons and armor, as dying resets you back to what you had coming into the level. And there's an arsenal of weapons to choose from. When you first start the game, you start with a weak rifle, but you eventually collect double-barrel shotguns, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, nail guns, and super nail guns, just to name a few. There's also a great deal of enemy variety, and some can only be killed with certain weapons. There's also a multiplayer mode where you and a friend can frag it over a handful of maps. Each has a different weapon placement from the other, as dying sets you to nothing. The multiplayer is a nice addition, and so some of the multiplayer charm the original PC had. Now, what were the issues there were from this game? Well, for starters, there are a handful of levels missing from the game, and there's no replacement for it. Second is that the game can get really cheesy with you. Many of the levels have one-shot kill traps that totally catch you off guard and force you to restart the level. Next thing I found really intriguing is that this game has load time. This is one of the few cartridge games that I know of, and my guess is it's loading a totally advanced game engine. Finally, I didn't like the idea that the multiplayer was only 2 players. In conclusion, I found Quake 64 to be a very enjoyable single player that's intense, fun, and action-packed. The Quake engine has been a milestone in gaming graphics and has really went forward in the true 3D age. Without going into too much detail, it provides less complicated 3D design to increase speed. It also creates ground shading and moving objects and a static light map for non-moving objects, and has been recreated and expanded into many games over the years. This is almost evident in the N64 counterpart. It does display some great lighting and detail. You'll be traveling to dark and death-like dimensions, taking on uniquely designed aliens. The textures are nicely detailed, and I haven't noticed any frame rates dropping, and it stays consistent through my experience. What I found funny is that when you quit the game insults you for doing so. In conclusion, Quake engine has really been evident in this N64 version. It even forces the game to load. However, it is still lacking the PC engine's disc quality, and due to N64 being on a cartridge, it's not at its finest. I found Quake 64's controls to be simple and easy to use. The control stick moves you around, the Z button fires, and the A and B buttons cycle through your weapons. Pressing left or right C strafes you accordingly. Holding the R button while moving the control stick manually aims in any direction. In conclusion, the controls are nicely mapped out and not easy to use. Of all the fame that Quake is known for, you think that it would actually retain its original golden soundtrack. That is not the case here, and is the most disappointing factor of the game. The main menu music is pretty cool. Frankly, that and the level complete music is all you're going to hear in the ways of music. The soundtrack during gameplay is nothing but background environment winds and chimes. Much of the same can be said about enemy screams. In conclusion, the music is the most disappointing factor of the experience, which is a shame because the main menu music is pretty cool. Overall, I found Quake 64 to have an enjoyable single player that is fun to play, with action-packed survival-like experience and added replay value. The multiplayer is a step up considering the other console versions did not have it. However, its faults simply come from the limitation of a cartridge and dumbed down in some key elements like music, graphics reduction. But if you're a fan of the original and don't have the PC for it, then Quake 64 is a worthy choice for you.